Min-jun stood in the rain-soaked alley behind the luxury hotel, his tailored black suit clinging to his muscular frame as water dripped from his jet-black hair. His dark eyes, cold as winter steel, surveyed the three men blocking his path. "Step aside," he said, his deep voice carrying the weight of unspoken threats, "or I'll make you regret ever laying eyes on her." Behind him, trembling in her designer dress now ruined by the storm, stood Sophia Chen, the woman whose life had just been turned upside down. Just hours ago, she had everything: a successful art gallery in Manhattan, a fiancé from one of New York's most prestigious families, and a future that seemed perfect. Now she had only this mysterious man who had appeared from nowhere, claiming to be her new bodyguard. What she didn't know was that Min-jun was no ordinary bodyguard. He was the heir to the most powerful Korean crime syndicate in Asia, and he had his own reasons for being here. Before we dive into this gripping tale of danger, passion, and redemption, let me know in the comments where you're watching from and whether you believe that sometimes the most dangerous people can become our greatest protectors. Don't forget to like and subscribe to K-Mafia stories, because tales of forbidden love and hidden identities like this deserve to be shared, and you won't want to miss what happens next. Now, let's discover what brought a ruthless mafia heir to New York and why Sophia's seemingly perfect life was actually built on lies. But first, what do you think drives someone from the criminal underworld to risk everything to protect a stranger? The morning had started like any other Thursday in Sophia Chen's carefully curated life. She woke up in her Upper East Side penthouse, the kind of apartment that screamed old money, even though Sophia had earned every penny herself. At 32, she had built Galerie Lumiere from the ground up, transforming it into one of Manhattan's most prestigious contemporary art spaces. Her engagement ring, a flawless 3-carat diamond, caught the morning light as she reached for her phone. 12 missed calls from her fiancé, Marcus Ashford. Strange. Marcus never called that many times. He was too composed, too refined for such desperate behavior. She dialed back, but it went straight to voicemail. An uneasy feeling settled in her stomach as she dressed for the day, choosing a cream silk blouse and tailored navy pants. The art gallery opening that evening was crucial. She had secured an exclusive showing of Park Ji-hoon's latest collection, abstract paintings that had the art world buzzing. Everything needed to be perfect. She had no idea that by midnight, nothing in her life would ever be perfect again. Her assistant, Natalie, was already at the gallery when Sophia arrived, her usual bright smile replaced by a worried frown. "Sophia, you need to see this," she said, handing over her tablet. On the screen was a news article: Ashford Industries under federal investigation for money laundering and fraud. Sophia's blood ran cold. The article detailed allegations that Marcus's family business had been funneling money for criminal organizations for over a decade. Her phone rang. "Sophia." "Sophia, don't believe what you're reading," he said quickly, his usual calm replaced by panic. "It's all lies, competitors trying to destroy us. But listen carefully. You need to stay away from the gallery today. In fact, go stay with your parents for a few days." "What? Why? Marcus, what's really going on?" "Just trust me. Some people think I might have discussed business with you, that you might know things. They're wrong, but they don't care. Please, Sophia, stay away." He hung up before she could respond. Sophia stood frozen in her gallery, surrounded by millions of dollars worth of art, and for the first time in her adult life, she felt truly afraid. She called her parents, but they didn't answer. She called her brother in Los Angeles, straight to voicemail. It was as if everyone in her life had suddenly vanished. "Natalie, cancel tonight's opening," Sophia said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Tell the collectors there's been a scheduling conflict. I need to figure out what's happening." But before Natalie could respond, the gallery door chimed. A man walked in, and Sophia's breath caught in her throat. He was tall, probably 6'2",
with the kind of presence that made the spacious gallery feel suddenly smaller. His black suit was expensive, but not flashy, fitted perfectly to his athletic build. His face was striking, sharp jawline, high cheekbones, and those eyes, dark, intelligent, and completely unreadable. "Miss Chen," he said in accented English, his voice smooth as aged whiskey. "My name is Min-jun. I've been hired to ensure your safety." "Excuse me," Sophia took a step back. "By whom?" "That's not important right now. What's important is that you're in danger. The people investigating Marcus Ashford believe you have information that could implicate certain organizations. They're wrong, but by the time they realize that, it might be too late for you." "I'm calling the police," Sophia said, reaching for her phone. Min-jun moved with startling speed, his hand gently but firmly catching her wrist. "The police can't help you. Not with the people involved in this. Your fiancé's family didn't just launder money for businessmen, Miss Chen. They worked with some of the most dangerous criminal networks in the world. And now that everything is collapsing, those networks want to make sure no loose ends remain." "Let go of me," Sophia said, trying to sound brave despite her racing heart. He released her immediately, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. "I apologize. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here because someone very powerful owes a debt to your late grandfather, and honoring that debt means protecting you." Sophia froze. "My grandfather? He died when I was 15. He was just a restaurant owner in Chinatown." A slight smile touched Min-jun's lips, the first crack in his stoic exterior. "Your grandfather was many things, Miss Chen. A restaurant owner was merely the most public one. He once helped someone very important to me escape a dangerous situation. This person swore that if any of your grandfather's descendants ever needed protection, it would be provided, no questions asked." Before Sophia could process this revelation, the gallery's front window exploded inward. Glass rained down as three men in dark clothing rushed in, guns drawn. Min-jun reacted instantly, pulling Sophia behind a marble sculpture as bullets tore through paintings worth millions. He produced a gun from underneath his jacket with practiced ease, returning fire with deadly accuracy. 2 shots, 2 men down. The third man dove behind a display case, and Min-jun used the moment to pull Sophia toward the back exit. "Move," he commanded, his earlier politeness replaced by military authority. They burst through the storage room, past carefully wrapped paintings and empty frames, and out into the alley behind the gallery. A black SUV screeched to a halt, blocking their path. More men emerged, and Sophia realized with horror that they were trapped. The rain that had started as a drizzle was now a downpour, soaking through her expensive clothes in seconds. She had never been more terrified in her life, had never imagined that violence like this existed outside of movies. This was when Min-jun had spoken those words that would echo in her mind for days to come. "Step aside, or I'll make you regret ever laying eyes on her." And then he had moved. Sophia had never seen anyone fight like that. Min-jun was a blur of controlled violence, every movement precise and devastating. He disarmed the first man with a strike to the wrist, caught the falling gun, and used it to pistol whip the second. The third man managed to grab Sophia, pulling him against her with a knife to her throat, but Min-jun didn't hesitate. He threw his gun like a missile, hitting the man's temple with such force that he crumpled instantly. "Are you hurt?" Min-jun asked, checking Sophia over professional efficiency. His hands were gentle despite the violence they had just committed. She shook her head, unable to speak. He pulled off his shoulder hollis, revealing more of his impressive physique beneath the wet dress shirt. He was covered in scars, she noticed, signs of a life filled with violence. "What I'm about to tell you stays between us," he said, his dark eyes meeting hers. "I am Min-jun, eldest son of Lee Tae-young, who controls the largest Korean crime syndicate in Asia, and I have my own reasons for being here." "You're a gangster," Sophia said flatly.
I prefer the term businessman with unconventional methods, Min-jun replied with a hint of dark humor. But yes, in your country they would call my family the Korean Mafia. And before you ask, yes, I've killed people. Yes, I've broken laws. But I also have a code, and part of that code is honoring debts. Your grandfather, Chen Wei, saved my father's life 30 years ago when he first came to New York, gave him shelter, forged documents, asked nothing in return. My father swore that any descendant of Chen Wei would have the Li family's protection if they ever needed it. Sophia sank onto the worn couch, her mind reeling. My grandfather was a kind man who made dumplings and told stories. He wasn't involved in anything criminal. He was kind, Min-jun agreed, sitting across from her, but he was also connected. The old Chinatown networks weren't what you think. They helped people like my father. Immigrants, yes, but also those running from dangerous pasts. Your grandfather knew what my father was, and he helped anyway. That kind of courage is rare. So you're here out of obligation? Sophia said, a strange disappointment settling in her chest. You don't actually care what happens to me. Min-jun leaned forward, his intense gaze holding hers. I came because of obligation, but what happens next is because I choose it. I've spent the last 2 years looking for a way out of my family's business. This assignment, protecting you, it was supposed to be simple. Show up, keep you safe for a few days until the investigation blows over, collect on my father's debt, and earn my freedom. But then I met you. What's that supposed to mean? It means that in the 15 minutes since we met, you've been shot at, nearly kidnapped, and forced to flee your life, and you haven't broken down crying or begged me to take you to the police. You're strong, Miss Chen, stronger than most men I work with, and that intrigues me. Before Sophia could respond, her phone rang. Marcus. Her finger hovered over the decline button, but Min-jun shook his head. Answer it. Let's hear what he has to say. Sophia, thank God. Marcus's voice cracked with emotion. Where are you? Are you safe? There were reports of a shooting at your gallery. I'm fine. What's going on, Marcus? The truth this time. A long pause. Then, my family has been cleaning money for various organizations for years. I didn't know until recently, I swear. My father kept it hidden. But now everything's falling apart, and some of these organizations think you might have information because we're engaged. The FBI has offered me immunity if I cooperate. I'm going to take it. But Sophia, you need to disappear for a while. These people don't play games. Who are these people? I can't say over the phone. Just trust me. Stay hidden until the FBI rounds them up. I love you. I'll make this right, I promise. He hung up before she could say she didn't believe him. Min-jun watched her carefully. What do you want to do? He asked. What do you mean? I mean, do you want to hide like he suggested, wait for the FBI to maybe arrest the right people, hope they believe you're not involved, or do you want to fight back? Fight back against criminal organizations? I run an art gallery. You run a successful business, which means you're smart and determined, and you have something very few people in your situation have. Me. I know how these organizations work. I know their weaknesses, and I have resources they don't expect. Sophia looked at this dangerous, beautiful man who had crashed into her life with violence and secrets. Her rational mind screamed at her to call the FBI, to cooperate, to go home to her parents. But another part of her, a part she didn't know existed, wanted to see where this path led. If I agree to work with you, what happens to Marcus? That depends. Is he guilty or just unlucky? I don't know anymore. I thought I knew him, but apparently I didn't know anyone in my life. Min-jun stood, walking to the window to check the street below. Then we find out the truth, about Marcus, about your grandfather, about who's really behind all of this. But I warn you, once we start down this road, there's no going back to your normal life.
"I think my normal life ended the moment you walked into my gallery," Sophia said, and as she looked at Lee Min-jun's reflection in the dark window, she realized she wasn't sure if that was a tragedy or a strange kind of freedom. Over the next 3 days, Sophia learned more about the underworld than most people discover in a lifetime. Min-jun was an efficient teacher, explaining the complex web of organizations that had been using Ashford Industries as their personal bank. There were the Italians from the Brooklyn docks, the Irish from Hell's Kitchen, and most surprisingly, a Korean syndicate that Min-jun's own family had been competing with for years. The Sun Pa, Min-jun explained as they reviewed documents he had somehow acquired. The Sun Pa, they're savage, ruthless, and they've been trying to gain a foothold in New York for a decade. If they were using Ashford's company, it means they've succeeded. They were in a different safe house now, this one in Flushing with a view of the East River. Min-jun had 3 different apartments across the city, rotating between them unpredictably. He taught Sophia to watch for tails, to vary her patterns, to never trust convenience. He also taught her to shoot, his strong hands guiding hers as she held the gun for the first time. "Squeeze, don't pull," he murmured, standing close behind her at the makeshift range he'd set up in the basement. The gun kicked in her hands, and the paper target 50 feet away gained a new hole, not in the center, but close enough. "Not bad for a first-timer," Min-jun said, and the approval in his voice sent an unexpected warmth through her. What Sophia didn't expect was how much she would come to depend on his presence. Min-jun was unlike anyone she had ever known. He could be terrifying one moment, cold, calculating, ready to kill, and then surprisingly gentle the next. He remembered that she was vegetarian and always ordered accordingly. He noticed when she was tired and made sure she slept, standing guard himself. And when she woke up screaming from nightmares of that first attack, he was there instantly, his arms around her, his deep voice assuring her that she was safe. "This is wrong," Sophia said, one night as they sat on the rooftop of their latest hideout, watching the city lights. "You're a criminal. I'm a respectable businesswoman. We shouldn't what?" Min-jun asked, turning to look at her. The moonlight caught his features, making him look like some dark angel. "Feel like this," she admitted. "Like I want you to kiss me even though you've killed people. Like I feel safer with you than I ever felt with Marcus, even though you're objectively more dangerous." Min-jun reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Sophia, I've done terrible things in my life. I won't pretend otherwise. But everything I've done since meeting you has been about keeping you alive. And if that means I'm using you as an excuse to become someone better, then I'm guilty. Because when I'm with you, I don't feel like the heir to a criminal empire. I feel like a man who might actually deserve something good." He kissed her then, and it wasn't like Marcus's polite, careful kisses. This was desperate, hungry, full of the danger and passion that had been building between them. When they finally pulled apart, Sophia was breathless. "This is insane," she whispered. "Most good things are," Min-jun replied. The next morning, everything changed again. Min-jun's phone rang with news that made his face go dark. "They found us," he said, already moving. "Pack only essentials. We have maybe 10 minutes. "Who found us?" "Everyone." They were moving through the apartment building's maintenance corridors when they ran into them, 6 men with the Sun Pa tattoos. The fight was brutal and efficient, Min-jun moving through them like a blade through water. But one of them managed to press a gun to Sophia's head, and Min-jun froze. "Drop your weapon, Lee Min-jun," the man said in Korean, which Sophia was surprised to find she partially understood from language classes years ago. Min-jun's eyes met Sophia's, and in that moment she saw something that took her breath away. It wasn't calculation or strategy, it was fear, not for himself, but for her. This dangerous man who killed without hesitation was terrified of losing her. "Don't," she mouthed, but a shot rang out anyway, not from the man holding her, but from somewhere behind them. The man's grip loosened as he fell, revealing a new player. A woman, tall and elegant despite the gun in her hands, walked toward them with the confidence of someone who owned whatever room she entered. "Hello, little brother," she said in Korean, her eyes on Min-jun. "Did you really think father wouldn't send me to check on you?" "Ji-yun," Min-jun said, relief and wariness mixing in his voice. "This isn't what it looks like. It looks like you've gone soft over some girl and gotten sloppy enough to let son Pa find you. Father is displeased." "Who is this?" Sophia demanded. "Lee Ji-yun," the woman said, offering a cold smile. "Min-yun's younger sister and head of our family's information network. And you must be the reason my brother has been ignoring father's calls for 3 days." More of Min-yun.
Taeyang smiled, and it wasn't a kind expression. "The debt was to keep you safe, not to fall in love with you. My son is engaged to be married, Miss Chen. Did he tell you that? Arranged since he was 12 to the daughter of our most important allies. Breaking that engagement would mean war within our own organization." Sophia's world tilted. She looked at Min-jun, who had gone pale. It's complicated," he said. "It seems very simple to me," Sophia replied, her voice cold. "You forgot to mention you had a fiancé." "I haven't seen her in 2 years. It's political, not romantic. I was going to what? Break off an engagement that keeps your family's empire intact? For me? A woman you've known for less than a week?" Sophia stood up, addressing Taeyang. "Thank you for your hospitality, but I think I should return to New York. Clearly, I've complicated things enough." "You're not going anywhere," Taeyang said firmly. "The Sun Pa is still hunting you, and now that you've been seen with my family, other organizations will assume you're valuable to us. You'll stay here, under our protection, until the situation resolves." "You can't keep me prisoner." "Can I?" Taeyang smiled. "This isn't America, Miss Chen. Here, I am the law." The next week was surreal. Sophia was given a beautiful suite in the compound, treated like an honored guest who was absolutely not allowed to leave. Min-jun tried to talk to her multiple times, but she refused to see him. Instead, she spent her time exploring the compound, reading in the extensive library, and surprisingly, talking with Taeyang. The old man was fascinating in a terrifying way. He told her stories about her grandfather, about the early days in New York, about building an empire from nothing. He also made his position clear. Min-jun would marry according to the family's needs, and Sophia was a complication that needed to be resolved. "You could stay," Taeyang said one afternoon as they took tea in the garden, "not as my son's wife, but as part of our organization. You have skills, your gallery, your business sense. We have use for such things. You would be wealthy, protected, powerful." "But not loved," Sophia said. "Love is a luxury criminals cannot afford," Taeyang replied. "My son will learn that eventually." But fate had other plans. That night, alarms screamed through the compound. The Sun Pa had found them, and they had brought an army. The attack was coordinated and brutal, explosives breaching the outer walls, gunfire echoing through the halls. Min-jun came for Sophia immediately, bursting into her room with blood on his shirt and desperation in his eyes. "We have to go, now." "I thought you were engaged," Sophia said, refusing to move. "I was. I broke it off this morning, told my father I wouldn't marry her, wouldn't play this game anymore. That's why they're attacking now. Our allies have withdrawn our support. The Sun Pa knows we're vulnerable." "You gave up everything," Sophia whispered. "Not everything. Not you." He pulled her close, kissing her fiercely as gunfire got closer. "But we need to survive the night first. Please, Sophia, let me protect you one more time." They fought their way through the compound, Min-jun and a handful of loyal guards creating a corridor of violence.
Sophia picked up a fallen gun, remembering his lessons, and surprised herself by actually hitting a target. They made it to the garage, to a car that Min-jun drove like a madman through Seoul's streets, pursuing vehicles right behind them. "Where are we going?" Sophia shouted over the squeal of tires. "To the airport. We're leaving Korea, leaving everything. Your family, your life, means nothing without you in it." He looked at her, and despite the danger, despite everything, he smiled. "Besides, I always wanted to see what being a normal person felt like." They made it to the airport by seconds, boarding a plane just as their pursuers arrived. As Seoul disappeared below them, Sophia leaned against Min-jun's shoulder, exhausted and exhilarated. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now, we figure out how to build a life that's actually ours. No family obligations, no criminal empires, no one else's expectations." "Can you really walk away from all of that?" Min-jun squeezed her hand. "I already have." 6 months later, Sophia stood in her newly reopened gallery in Manhattan. The space had been completely renovated after the attack, now more beautiful than ever. The opening night was for a collection she had curated herself, emerging Korean artists, a bridge between her old life and new. Min-jun stood beside her, wearing a simple suit instead of his usual tactical black, his arm around her waist as collectors and critics filled the space. He had transformed himself remarkably well, using legitimate business investments to build a new life. Some of his father's money had followed them, a grudging acknowledgement that while Tae-young didn't approve, he wouldn't abandon his son entirely. The gallery door opened, and Sophia's heart stopped. Marcus walked in, looking thin and tired, followed by FBI agents. But his hands weren't cuffed. He was a free man. "Sophia," he said, approaching cautiously, "I heard you were reopening. I wanted to apologize, to explain." "There's nothing to explain, Marcus," Sophia said gently. "You were caught in your family's mess, just like I was. I hope you found a way out." "I did. Testified against everyone involved. They're all going to prison." His eyes moved to Min-jun, recognition and wariness in his gaze. "So this is him, the man who saved you." "And the man who loves her," Min-jun said simply, his arm tightening slightly around Sophia. There was no threat in his voice, just statement of fact.
Marcus nodded slowly. "Then I'm glad you found someone who could protect you better than I did. I'm sorry, Sophia, for everything." After he left, Sophia turned in Min-jun's arms. "Do you regret it, giving up your empire for me?" "Every day," Min-jun said, and when Sophia's face fell, he smiled. "I regret that I didn't do it sooner, that I wasted years of my life in that world when I could have been building something real." "Something real like what?" "Like this, like us, like a life where the most dangerous thing I face is art critics instead of assassination attempts." He pulled her closer, kissing her softly. "Though I do keep a gun in the back office, just in case." "Some habits die hard," Sophia laughed. "Some do," Min-jun agreed, "but some transformations are worth it. I'm not who I was, Sophia. You changed me." "We changed each other," she corrected. "You taught me to be brave, I taught you to be gentle. Together we figured out how to be free." The gallery filled with voices and laughter, with the sound of success and new beginnings. And as Lee Min-jun held Sophia Chen in his arms, surrounded by art and light instead of violence and shadows, he knew he had made the right choice. Love, he had learned, wasn't weakness. It was the courage to become someone better. Lee Min-jun and Sophia Chen's story reminds us that transformation is always possible, that love can bloom in the darkest places, and that sometimes the most dangerous people are capable of the greatest change. It shows us that our past doesn't define our future,
that courage comes in many forms, and that building something real is worth more than any empire. Most importantly, their story proves that everyone deserves a second chance, that protecting someone can mean saving yourself, and that the bravest thing we can do is choose love over power. If you were in Sophia's position, would you have trusted Min-jun? Would you have given up everything comfortable for something real but uncertain? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story of forbidden love, dangerous secrets, and second chances moved you, don't forget to like and subscribe to K-Mafia Stories so you won't miss the next tale of ordinary people caught in extraordinary circumstances. And share this video with someone who needs a reminder that it's never too late to choose a different path. Thank you for watching. Remember, the most dangerous thing in this world isn't a man with a gun. It's a man with a reason to change. Never underestimate the power of love to transform even the darkest heart, and never give up hope that tomorrow can be better than yesterday, no matter where you started.